Let's start with the fact that both structures have something in common. They both operate upon destruction and hierarchy. Those two things are inextricably linked. Structure. This is similar to hell in that the devil's the guy in charge. He's never not going to be in charge. And all of these little demons are just his minions. And the only thing they do is serve the devil and bring souls into hell. That's their only job. And when you think about it, it is the only job of men to serve the patriarchy and to contribute more genetic material to the patriarchy so that the patriarchy can continue to function. The human population is extremely important to the structure. That's why you'll hear a lot of billionaires freaking out about the low birth rates we're experiencing right now. That's because the system needs to be fed, and it needs to be fed people.
Both of these structures need to be fed people.
Sure. Places that men typically make lifelong friends are within these sorts of upward structures. Like sports, the army, churches, things like that.
Upward structures, like sports, the army, churches, things like that.
This is where men make lifelong friends, but those lifelong friends, you're typically connected by serving and submitting to something that's bigger than you in hopes of getting recognized by the structure itself or by the person that you perceive to be at the top of that structure.
You are not actually doing anything to help each other. You are actually just functioning as minions for the system.
But together. The question is, why do any of this? So why do they do it? Because someone's been made an example out of and they don't want to end up like that person.
So in the patriarchy, it's women. Women form the base of the patriarchy. They are the only reason that it works.
Because they're the ones that have been subjugated to be the thing that men don't want to end up like. Up at the very tippy top of the patriarchy is a man that they all want to be like. Just like all the demons want to be, Satan one day and they worship him and do his bidding because they don't want to end up like these poor souls that make hell so hot. Truth is, if they stopped bringing souls to the devil, there would be no more hell and there would be no more oppression and there would be no more fire and no more any of that. Or if our society would just stop sacrificing women to the patriarchy, then there wouldn't be a patriarchy. There would be a natural order. Then nobody would be subdued and holding up a structure that other people are benefiting from. Because it was never designed for them. Hell was never designed for souls to survive in. Only demons can survive in hell. Souls are what fuels it. Souls are what fuels the fire. Women are what fuels the patriarchy. Men are the only ones that get to benefit from.
Hell was never designed for souls to survive in. Only demons can survive in hell. Souls are what fuels it. Souls are what fuels the fire. Women are what fuels the patriarchy. Men are the only ones that get to benefit from it.
And I've actually never seen this concept better illustrated than in Mad Max Fury Road. Immortan Joe would be the guy at the top that the men worship. This is very, very clear. He has his right and left hand men. He very much employs a servant class that gets to live a much better life than the masses. And he's really a symbol. He's really just a representative. If you take off the mask and the armor, he is just a disgusting, decrepit old man.
But all the men worship him because he controls the resources.
This is what happens when you get to the top of the patriarchy hierarchy. You end up with one person that controls the resources, that makes all the rules, and one person that the wealth trickles up to. The trickle-down theory is a myth. This structure was made and designed to function from the bottom up. Nothing ever trickles down. We already know this. If you live in America, you already know this. Wealth only goes up to the top, and the fruit of people's work goes to actually serve and enrich our ruling class. This is capitalism and patriarchy taken to its logical conclusion. That's what this movie is about. And tell me that these people are not actually living in hell. There's no water. One person controls all the resources. This is what the people look like. They have been deprived and stripped of access to their most basic necessities. And they are being told not to become addicted to water. They're being told that them asking for the bare minimum is too much. And this is all that they have to look up and look forward to. And they are supposed to accept their fate, just as the souls in hell are supposed to accept their fate and be destroyed to serve a higher purpose. Since patriarchy operates upon destruction and upon the extraction of resources, you also need people who are willing to go and do that for you. These are other people's resources that you're trying to take. And this has a lot of ties to white supremacy and to colonialism, classism, capitalism, all of it. As between the grunt workers and the middlemen, you also
need to have a willing army.
Okay, so now how do you get people to sign up into the army?
Is it possible to get a tattoo like this if you're not a gang member?
No, you gotta kill.
You gotta kill to get those tattoos.
Hey, what's happening? Slick! What's going on? Slick!
Treason! Betrayal! An imperator gone rogue!
How do you feel right now?
Gotta recognize that what happened to us is like that Titanic, that we were big and strong gang, but we got hit with the iceberg.
Are you going to be here the rest of your life?
Yeah, the rest of my life. We murdered a lot of people, and this is the consequence of what we did one day. Like, try to act strong in the day and cry in the nighttime.
You cry at night?
Yeah, because we know that we're not going to get out of here. It's a maximum security prison.
What was the gang that you were a part of?
MS-13.
I wanted to add a couple of things about this guy really quick. Clearly these guys, the boys, are in the army. They're the army class. They are the bodies that help the ruling class conquer and bring more money and resources into the system to be consumed upwards. Being a minion, being an army minion, gets you a little bit closer to the speculator class, gets you a little bit closer to the entertainment class that's kind of worship, like people wear their army uniform places and stuff, or like talk about it because they like that recognition. It makes them almost a celebrity, gets them a little closer to that. They're highly motivated by an afterlife, so keep that in mind. Religion that promises rewards in the afterlife is very essential to the structure because not very much reward in the system for the bottom 99%.
They most likely will not see any rewards during their lifetime.
Biggest parallel between these two structures, even though hell is nowhere near as complicated and multi-tiered as the patriarchy, they are essentially soulless, okay? And they run off of actually the destruction of souls.
People who exist in this tier of society are absolutely having their souls destroyed every single day.
So these are women whose souls are essentially being sacrificed. That's why when women exit the system, aka learn to decenter men, they leave abusive relationships, they have a glow up. Their hair looks better, their skin looks better, their health is infinitely better. It's because they're no longer being sacrificed at the altar of the patriarchy.
It's a similar relief to when a soul can get out of hell.
So both of these are a soulless system that really just depend on who can get to the top the fastest and stay there the longest. And the only way that you do that is by climbing up and over people, spilling their blood, taking land at other people's expense, making money at other people's expense, keeping them out of those profits, and that's what keeps you on top the longest. Just like Immortan Joe, the reason he was able to stay at the top for so long is because he created an illusion of scarcity. He created the illusion that he alone controls all the resources. There is no reward in this as a man. There is no intrinsic reward. There's only extrinsic reward. And the biggest reward is getting to the top and being everyone's enemy and being the guy that everybody wants to take down. That's really the only reward in this system. And as much as you do all of this, no matter how many souls you bring to the devil, he will still be hungry for more souls. And no matter how much you serve the patriarchy and capitalism and white supremacy, it'll always want more. It wants to consume everything and withhold it from the rest of the people so that they can then give it out little by little while extracting more and more and more value from these people. The reason that laws are being made to keep it this way, to keep women in the patriarchy, is because if these men and these women stop producing more children for the patriarchy to then consume and spit out at the bottom, it's not going to be this big fat working class that's going to make everybody up here very, very rich. That's the reason why people are trying so desperately to keep women trapped underneath this structure. The reason that men's behavior mimics that of demons is because they are both serving a structure for very little reward, hoping to one day reach the top of that structure at the expense of other people, at the expense of other souls. Why does men's behavior seem so reckless, so thoughtless, so selfish? It's because it's not even about you. They're serving a heartless, soulless system. And that's why they're acting heartless and soulless, because they believe that that is the way to the top. And they believe that women are just resources that will either help them get there, or they are resources that they will be able to claim once they get far enough to the top. A lot of them are hoping to reach the place in life where they don't even have to worry about resources or women or other men or anything else. And ironically, once they get here, that is the only thing they'll be worried about, because all of those things are needed to keep up their power and their status quo. That's why the king still had all of these beautiful wives, even though he controlled all the resources, because that's what men look up to. And so he needed to be the kind of guy, had all these beautiful women around him. Meanwhile, this is what the working class women were out here looking like. And you'll notice, like, I think a lot of this is intentional. There was not a lot of them in the crowd. The crowd was mostly men. The boys, the army, was all men. The people in charge were all men. No women soldiers, no women close to the king. And that's why the king still surrounded himself with beautiful women, because beautiful women are a necessity to keep up this image of being a powerful man. Oh, I keep all these women around me and I use them as resources. And he very much did use them as resources. You know, he didn't care that even his favorite wife died because the child that she would have born him also didn't survive. And
he was a lot more upset about that and used it as a reason to go to war against women that were trying to escape this patriarchal structure.
You know, again, another pertinent parallel, being pro-life, but in a way that ignores the life of women. Being used to pit people against women is very familiar to us, sadly, even especially in the year 2024, which you would think would be further away from it than ever, but we are actually closer than ever. Again, I'll remind you, pregnant women can no longer be granted a divorce from the men who are benefiting off of their actual and literal labor. Because chances are, if a pregnant woman divorces, she's also going to do what? That's right, take control of her body. But the ruling class needs more people to keep up this illusion. Because if people start leaving, then there's no more illusion. Look away if you don't do well with gore. But this is what's behind the mask of the guy who's at the very top. Okay? All an illusion. Reason why men like Putin, why men like Trump, you know, weak men do horrible things. It's to keep people from seeing the real thing underneath the mask. It's to keep people from seeing an impotent, scared, hurt, wounded, and insecure little man. The main character of this whole movie is just one of these guys. He's realized that this structure, this patriarchy, doesn't serve him. And so he's been walking away from it for a long time. And as he got captured by these guys and brought back into the system, his only goal was to just escape again, to get back out of it. And that's what any sane man would do. And I just think this was a very poignant character. He had very few lines throughout the whole movie. And when the women came back and took what was rightfully theirs, he just went back and sort of left everybody alone. His journey was entirely his own, and I really respect that. Anyways, do what you will, but my advice would be stay away from men who are feeding into the structure of the patriarchy. Rely on your labor. They don't want to give you credit for it, and their only goal is to keep climbing all the way up to the top as far as they can get because of the rewards that they perceive up there, which are resource-based and, again, soulless. They involve using people as objects, involve exploitation of others. There is no reward in this. What you want is men who are living outside of that structure by all means. They are not embarrassed to be seen as women. They are not striving to be the big man. They are not striving to have access to a certain tier of women. They are not striving to be destructive or exploitative. You want men who are thinking bigger. This is actually a very small and stupid way to live. Just like at the end of the day, in hell, it's just demons. It's just the devil and his demons.
In hell, it's just demons. It's just the devil and his demons.
And at the end of the day, in a patriarchy, it's just a weak man and a bunch of even weaker men.